weather, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
He, of course, hosted The Man Show on Comedy Central. He's a very successful comedian, traveling the world in huge tours, which millions of people have come out and seen. And I was lucky enough to get to know Joe and become friends with him, I guess, about 10 years ago, because he would come to Austin for shows, and he was friends with Kevin Booth, the producer for Bill Hicks. And by the way, it is true. A Bill Hicks movie is coming out. I have the inside scoop on that. Maybe we'll talk about that later. I don't know how much I can say. But Russell Crowe is involved. I'm just going to leave it at that. And that'll be out in the next year and a half. There, I've said it. But Joe Rogan is our guest for the next amazing individual. And he is Joe Rogan. Joe, thanks for coming on with me.
Thanks for having me on, buddy. What's going on?
Good, man. I tell you, life just accelerates by. We used to talk all the time and, see a couple times a year out in L.A., and we blinked, and a few years went by, and I'm glad that you're on the show.
Well, I'm glad I'm on the show, too. And, yeah, I've known you for a long time now. It's kind of crazy. It's been like 8 or 9 years at least, right?
Yeah, time just flies, Joe. In fact, I got 3 kids now, and you just had a daughter.
Yeah, I just had I didn't have it. My girlfriend had it. But, yeah, it's crazy, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A very humbling experience, to say the least.
I think having children, I know it turns on different areas of the brain. Did you totally, feel other areas switch on?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, there's a biological process that goes on, almost instantaneously. You start thinking about, you become much more like of a homebody. You start thinking much more rationally. You start thinking like, wow, I got to really, get my insurance in order and get all my, my money in place. And I start thinking like much more business-wise, like I become much more ambitious, like almost instantly.
Exactly. That's what happened to me. I used to let people push me around and stuff because I was kind of a nice guy. I kind of turned into a meanie.
People push you around? That's ridiculous.
I got a lot meaner after I had kids, is the point.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think it definitely makes a person more, just more serious, I've had friends that had kids, and they would describe it. And I never really got it. I'm like, okay, so what happens? You're working more now, and that's good? Like, what is it all about? But once you have one, you go, oh, it's like a biological thing. It's like your body is preparing you for the fact that you've got to take on this little responsibility, this little person, to protect it. So you become, like, more aware of protecting the nest and more aware of, gathering up supplies. It's really weird.
Oh, man, with our first child, you should have seen me and my wife. It was like birds building a nest, running around and doing this and getting everything just right. And
a strange thing to realize you're just an animal, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
no different than a monkey, no different than a dog, just a different kind of animal.
Well, we certainly are programmed, and we certainly have templates we follow. In fact, I want to talk about that today. You've got an interesting view on humanity and everything else, and I want to get your take on your views on that now. On the other side with Joe Rogan. I'm Alex Jones. This is the one, the only GCN Radio Network. His website is joerogan.net. Got links up to it on Infowars.com right now.
From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
He's Joe Rogan, ladies and gentlemen, and he's agreed to ride shotgun with Vincent Bugliosi, the prosecutor of the Manson family and best-selling author. He's got a new book out about how Bush is a murderer, needs to be arrested immediately. A very respected prosecutor and expert on criminology. So Joe Rogan will be riding shotgun with us for that hour. Coming up next hour, that is going to be amazing. Joe Rogan and Vincent Bugliosi on together. But he'll be with us, just Joe alone, for this hour. Joe, I want to talk about your comedy. I want to talk. Well, we can't talk about your new TV show that's coming out yet. You can't talk about that yet. I want to talk about DMT. I want to talk about government-sponsored terror. I want to get into moon landings. I want to get into your worldview because I was Googling your name last night and ended up spending about 2 hours watching different clips of you and your internet reality show you do. That's amazing. Ought to be on mainstream TV. But I guess it's too hardcore. Where you did this rant on another radio show about flying over cities and how cities look like cancers, and then you were talking about taking DMT and you know how there's this other reality while we're sleeping. And it was all just an amazing rant you were doing. And but I thought, why play somebody else's show? Why not just have Joe talk about that, but add, because this rant was about a year ago, you've now had a child. You say which I think what you just said about having a child fits into what you said previously. Does having a child confirm your view about how we are really a kind of like a jellyfish? We are a group organism, but we individually, I don't think, realize that.
Yeah, I think for sure we're the way I compare it is to mold. Is that when you see mold, you don't see individual spores of mold. You see like a patch, and that's really what like human beings are. I mean, we think of ourselves as individuals, but we need all the other people around us constantly. Like if you're in jail, the worst punishment they can give you is put you in solitary confinement, to take you away from other prisoners. I mean, how crazy is that? I mean, if that doesn't just show you that there's some sort of a biological need to stay in contact with other people because we are a group organism. It's an illusion that we're not. And if you look at the way this group organism is devouring the planet and killing off all the other organisms, it's just like an out-of-control bacteria or a virus or just a parasite, any kind of other animal that could overtake, like when some, crazy roach gets into a community and gets in everyone's houses and they can't get rid of them and they can't exterminate them. I mean, that's really what humans are like. We're like any other organism. We're just conscious and we communicate. And we like to depict ourselves in unnatural ways, and we get confused, and we start to think that depiction is the reality. But the reality, when you look at like what humans are doing to the world, what we're doing to each other, we're just a really complicated, screwed up animal. It's weird.
Now, I don't want out of the gates get into a debate with you, because I agree with some of what you're saying and don't with others. I mean, that 1,000+ square mile thing of plastic trash floating around in the Pacific Ocean right now, that is a problem. Genetic engineering, these cross-species organisms that have been put out are already wreaking havoc. GMO food that we produced, that literally kills all the rats they feed it to, we're eating that. It's causing all these health problems. But we can certainly be a cancer, or we can be something that terraforms other planets, and I see our real potential as a life spreader, a life seeder. So I think, like with everything in the world, it's a double-edged sword. And
you think our potential is to seed our organism onto other planets?
Yes, and to terraform. We're going to go in, no doubt, if we don't destroy ourselves with the superconducting heavy reactors and the antimatter weapons the Air Force admits they have but won't declassify the details on. If we don't destroy ourselves, yes, we're going to spread life. And so will we consume the yolk, like a chicken embryo that's our planet? Yes, but when we get to our true potential, we're going to be able to create thousands of worlds.
Well, our real problem is that everything we do to this world, everything we do, like with our materialism and the way we live our lives, and the gas that we use, and everything, it's damaging the earth, but I don't think we feel it personally. And I think that's a big problem with human beings.
Well, Joe, we do feel it when we get cancer from the dioxins that get in the water in the air, and we do feel it if a 3-year-old dies of leukemia because they took the vaccines.
Oh, of course. No, listen, I'm 100% with you. What I'm saying is that the only way we're going to ever get people to live a sustainable life is to make it feel good for them. Like there's got to be something in it for them. People do things based on feeling. They do. When people are working all day and they come home and they got kids and they got bills, it's very difficult to get them to try to reorganize the culture. I mean, completely rework society to the point where we don't have a voting system in place like we do now that makes no sense with electoral college and votes and delegates and what are you talking about? And all this nonsense, this two-party nonsense. Like, it's going to take a lot of work to get rid of all this BS that we have that's clogging up the pores of this culture. And this is the most, supposedly, at least we like to consider ourselves, the most advanced culture in the world. And it's childlike. I mean, that's the most amazing aspect about life, is that there are grown children and they're operating the world like it's a Harry Potter movie. And that's real.
Well, Joe, that's what happens. Humans, when they're stressed and pushed to the edge of endurance, do incredible, magical, dynamic things. But when we have milk and but when we have milk and honey, when we have it too good, we do become lazy, we do become decadent, we do become slothful. But the establishment, the social engineering.